Good morning to one and all gathered here. On the behalf of the IIC team, SNMB CAS, I welcome you all to the online workshop on prototype or process design and development prototyping. I call upon Mrs. Selva Jayanti, Assistant Professor, Department of Microbiology, to welcome the inquisitive minds.
Good morning, everyone. It's my honor and privilege to welcome you all for this webinar on prototyping process design and development prototyping. I would like to welcome our chief guest, Dr.J. Udhyakumar, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Commerce, IT, Dr. SNS Rajalakshmi College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore. Welcome you, sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation, and it's our pleasure to have such personality among us. Welcome you, sir. It's my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to our mentor, Dr. Rosen Matthew, sir. It's my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to our principal, sir, the man who is behind the support and encouragement for all the activities. I would like to welcome IIC members and cordial welcome to all the faculty members and students for this webinar. Once again, I welcome you all. Your presence makes us happy. I wish you all a happy learning. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, I call upon Mrs. P. Radha, Department of Microbiology, to introduce our chief guest. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Sipra. It is my honor and privilege to introduce the chief guest of the day, Dr. J. Udhyakumar, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Commerce IT, Dr. SNS Rajalakshmi College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore. Dr. J. Udhyakumar has completed his bachelor's degree in commerce from Government Arts College, Coimbatore. He has done his post-graduation from Pioneer College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore. He has completed his MPhil and doctoral degree from Bharathiar University. To add feather to his cap of credential, he was awarded with the Best Motivating Mentor for Entrepreneurship, Best Inspirational Faculty Award, Best Teaching and Research Excellence Award, and Best Faculty Award. He is also a member of following professional bodies: Indian Academicians and Research Association, Indian Academy and International Institute of Organized Research. He is also the member of various editorial boards and doctoral committees. He is guiding around 7 MPhil students, and around 5 research scholars are eminently working under his guidance. He has published around 25 research papers and articles. This whole day won't be enough for me, so let me conclude saying that we are proud to have an eminent guest amidst us today.
Thank you for introducing me. Good morning to one and all present here. First of all, I would like to thank the principal, Dr. B. Subramaniam sir, and convener Selva Jayanti ma'am, for inviting me for a resource person for this webinar. I'll start, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Share screen is not visible.
And is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Before entering into the topic, first we will see what is meant by the design thinking process, because the prototype is one of the component which will be included in the design thinking. Before entering into the topic, we will discuss about the design thinking process. That is, the design thinking is a design methodology that provides a solution-based approach for solving a problem. Not only for the solving the problems, it is a human-centric way, creating a many ideas in brainstorming sessions and by adopting the hands-on approach, that is prototyping and testing. But understanding these 5 stages of design thinking will empower anyone to apply the design thinking methods in order to solve complex problems that occurs around us in our companies or in our countries, even in our planet. We have to lot of problems are arising. By using this design thinking approach, we can give some solutions to that. So here the design thinking charts. It is I, the first one is the empathy. The first stage of design thinking process is to gain an empathetic understanding of the problem. Can anyone say what is meant by empathy? I want the session to be interactive one. Then only it will be more useful. Students, can anyone say what is meant by empathy?
So, so empathy is basically when you put yourself in someone else's shoes and look at it from their perspective.
Yeah, good. Here also the design thinking process. The first stage is that is empathy, that we have to understand the target user. Whatever the maybe the marketing or what are the company oriented or the product manufacturing, first we have to understand the problem where we are trying to solve it. This that is we have to get some experts to find out more about the area of the concern through observing, engaging, and empathizing with people to understand their experience and motivation, as well as the immersing yourself in the physical environment. We can gain some knowledge about that. That the empathy is a crucial human-centered design process, such as design thinking. And empathy also design thinkers. We may be a design thinkers to assert some assumptions to gain some insight in the users and their needs. That is the first. The main common thing is empathy is that we have to understand the target user. We have to understand the problem where it's arises. The next stage is the define stage. That is, define stage is nothing but we have to put the information that we have collected, gathered from the empathy stage, that will make analyze your observation and will define the core problems. What are the core problems and what are the problems that are collected from the team members? And we have to frame a problem statement in a human-centered manner. This will make take a wish or a need the companies, that is to increase our, for example, we want to increase our food product market share. That is young teenage girls by the 5% must be greater. To define that problem, first we have to know about the teenage girls need to eat a nutritious food in order to thrive, be healthy and grow. The define stage, this is one of an example. The define stage will help the designer and the team to gather a great ideas, that is to establish functions, the elements that will allow them to solve the problems. That is, at least the user have some knowledge about the problem, and we have to analyze that problem by defining them. That is, we have to describe what does the user need. First, we have to understand the target user, and we have to know that the need of the customer or need of the consumer, whatever it may be. The third stage is ideate. We have to ideate that we have to give some solution to the problem. That is, the third stage in the design thinking process is the designers are ready to start generating ideas after understanding the target user, and we will have some statement, and from that statement we have to give some ideas. The ideas may be from the help of the brainstorming. Can anyone say what is brainstorming? Through brainstorming, we will get some ideas. What is brainstorming? Students, can anyone say what is brainstorming? Whether you heard the word brainstorming? Can anyone? Brainstorming is nothing but is the group of people will sit together and find out the solution for a single problem. There will be many solutions for a single problem. From that many solutions, we will take one solution for that particular problem. That is in this stage, that is the empathy stage, and you have to analyze and then synthesize your observation in the defined stage and ended up with the human-centered problem statement. With the solid background, you and your team members can start think outside the box. In empathy, we will think inside the box, but while getting an idea, we have to think outside the box. There are 100 ideation techniques such as brainstorming, brainwright, worst possible idea, and scammer. These are some of the techniques. With the help of these techniques, we may find out some solution for that particular problem. And after that, finding some solutions, we have to put into the prototype. The prototype is nothing but it is not getting an ideas and making a draft. For final draft, நம்ம create பண்ணி கொடுத்துக்கிறத என்னன்னு சொல்றோம், நம்ம prototype னு சொல்றோம். And now only we entering into the topic, that is the prototype. Before the prototype, we have to know about the empathy, define, ideate. Without knowing these stages, we can't able to find out the solution from the prototype solution. The prototype is nothing but creating a draft of ideas. That ideas will be tested in the next stage and we'll get the feedback. If the feedback is not in a good way, that is we get a negative feedback, means we have to start from empathies, we have to define, then we have to ideate, and we have to prototype. Still we get the solution to the problem. We have to cycle these 5 stages. Let me see one by one. That is the empathy. That is, we have to see the world, we have to understand their feelings and appreciate them as a human being, and we have to communicate the understanding. This is the empathy. Empathy is nothing but we have to see their world and we have to understand their feelings. But by understanding their feelings only, we can able to give a solution for that particular problem. Or it will be very difficult for giving a solution to that. Next one, the define. It is in define stage. We have to reinforce the unknown to align new knowledges, and we have to reach the finding into the what we have to know it. Then we have to start a story, and we have to generate a problem statement which are collaboratively involved, and we have to record everything. Because in empathy, we will understand the problem. By understanding the problem, we have to record everything, and we have to give a brief draft about the problem. In the ideal stage only, we have already seen that by using the brainstorm methods or multivariate methods, we have to get a multi ideas. That ideas will have to be in a good way. That is, through brainstorm, we will create some human-centered ideas we will get. Then the prototype, we have to keep the user in the mind. By keeping the user in the mind, we have to test the things which we have gathered, and we have to give as enough proper way that we have to write the tools and fidelity, and we have to record the questions for testing. This is the prototype. Then we will test. Test is nothing but how we have to gather a feedback from DL or a target user. Then the idea to test with, consider the research logistic and test your solutions with the user, and we have to retest until we get to the final solution. We have to retest the problems. Now we're going to entering into the topic. That is the prototyping. That is, prototyping is the process of quickly putting together a working model in order to test various aspects of a design, illustrate ideas or a future, and gather early user feedback. It is nothing but the prototyping is it is be the not a final product. It will be the demo. That is the ஒரு டெமோவை நம்ம ஒரு செஷன் நம்ம கொடுக்குறோம் அப்படின்னா அந்த ஒரு டெமோ தான் நம்ம என்ன சொல்றோம்னா ஃபைனல் ப்ராடக்ட் இல்லாம அந்த டெமோவை நம்ம டிஸ்பிளே பண்ணக்கூடியதை நம்ம என்ன சொல்றோம்னா ப்ரோட்டோடைப்பிங்னு சொல்றோம். Many entrepreneurs that is who are new to start a circuit often wonder how to make a product, because By using the prototype only, we will have the formation and evaluation of an idea during a product life cycle. Many experts will give a different advice about how to make a product, that is using the prototype. Basically, prototype for any product is created in an early sample with the raw vision of an application. It is not the final product. It will be the raw one. With the help of that raw one only, we can able to know whether uh, we can able to find out any solution for that particular problem. It's not only for the problems, for also the product. நீங்க ஒரு மார்க்கெட்ல வந்து ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் நீங்க லான்ச் பண்றீங்கன்னா அந்த லான்ச் பண்றதுக்கு முன்னாடி we have to know what is the need of the customer. By analyzing the need of the customer only, we can able to frame a product. That is the framing the product only, we can able to say the product, then only it will be used. Otherwise, without analyzing, without testing, or without any finding a solution for that particular problem, it is not easier for us to find a solution for that particular problem. It is a prototype model. The prototype is sufficiently refined and meets the functionality, the manufacturability or the design goals. The product is ready for the production. Basically, the prototype for any product is created as an earlier sample. Or earlier sample, or prototype, that is a raw version of an application. That is in order to translate the theoretical ideas into real specification. That will be called as a prototype. That is a process of building a product into several steps to reach a final level of production that is fit for the consumption by the target audience. No product turns out perfect in the first iteration. நீங்க first stagesலயே கொடுக்கறப்ப அது நீட்ட ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் அது டெவலப் ஆகாது. We have to redefine பண்ணிட்டே இருக்கீங்க. Prototype is also to identify the user point of view. யூசர் பாயிண்ட் ஆஃப் வியூ பேஸ் பண்ணி தான் நம்ம என்ன பண்ண முடியும், ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட்டை வந்து நம்ம மேனுஃபேக்சர் பண்ண முடியும். ஜஸ்ட் வந்து ஒரு டெமோவா நம்ம கொடுப்போம். அந்த டெமோல இருந்து அவங்க என்ன பண்ண முடியும்னா அந்த ப்ராடக்ட்டை வந்து எந்த அளவுக்கு அவங்க கஸ்டமர்கிட்ட ரீச் ஆயிருக்குன்னு பார்த்து அதுல ஏதாவது டிஃபிகல்டிஸ் இருந்துச்சுன்னா அந்த டிஃபிகல்டி பேஸ் பண்ணி அதை டிஃபிகல்டிஸ் ஓவர் கம் பண்ணி நம்ம கஸ்டமர்ஸ் கிட்ட வந்து நம்ம ஃபீட்பேக் வாங்கிட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் நம்ம என்ன பண்ண முடியும், அந்த ஃபைனல் ப்ராடக்ட்டை நம்ம கொண்டு வர முடியும். இட் இஸ் also helps the identify user pain points as well as the great move. Prototyping serve as a time saving and is a cost effective strategy. ஏன்னா ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் நம்ம மார்க்கெட்ல கொண்டு போய் நம்ம லான்ச் பண்றதுக்கு முன்னாடி நம்ம ப்ரோட்டோடைப்பிங் பண்ணணும். ப்ரோட்டோடைப்பிங் பண்ணனா மட்டும்தான் நம்மளால வந்து ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் ஃபைனல் ப்ராடக்ட்டை வந்து நம்ம மார்க்கெட்ல சேல் பண்ண முடியும். or else it is very difficult to sell the product. Through prototyping, it is time saving and also the cost effective strategy by getting the feedback. And we have changes at an earlier stage before you have spent a ton of money on a buying the product. நீங்க வந்து ஒரு மார்க்கெட்ல வந்து டன் லெவல்ல நீங்க அந்த ப்ராடக்ட் நீங்க கொண்டு போய் சேர்த்துறீங்கிறதுக்கு முன்னாடியே நீங்க ப்ரோட்டோடைப்பிங் பண்ணிட்டீங்கன்னா அந்த ப்ரோட்டோடைப்பிங் மூலியமா நம்ம என்ன பண்ணலாம், ஏதாவது டிஃபிகல்டிஸ் டிஃபெக்டிவ் இருந்துச்சுன்னா நம்ம ஃபீட்பேக் மூலியமா அதை ஓவர் கம் பண்ணிட்டு நம்ம ஃபைனல் ப்ராடக்ட் பண்ணிக்க முடியும். ஸோ இந்த ப்ரோட்டோடைப்பிங் இஸ் ஒன் ஆஃப் த மாடல் which helps to design a goal by before entering into the final product. Why prototyping? Why is the prototyping is essential for us? That is, the prototyping is a toy implementation. That is toy implementation of systems having a limited functional capabilities. It is a low reliability, insufficient performance. Then it is an important purpose for the users of the prototype is you will get some input data format, messages, reports, the interactive dialogues with the customers. These are the things which will help the manufacturer or a producer to make a final product. The main advantages of prototyping is that it will reduce the time and also the cost and also improve and increase the user involvement. Now I will give some on நீங்க ஒரு ஒரு டயக்ராம் உங்களை வந்து ஒரு ஃபிளவர் வாஷ் வரைய சொன்னாங்கன்னா நீங்க எப்படி வரைவீங்க, ஒவ்வொருத்தரும் உங்களோட மைண்ட்ல எப்படி இருக்கோ அதை பேஸ் பண்ணி தான் நீங்க என்ன பண்ணுவீங்கன்னா ஒவ்வொன்றும் உங்களோட டயக்ராம். அதே மாதிரிதான் ஒரு டிசைன் திங்கிங்கிறது வந்து என்னன்னா நிறைய ஒவ்வொருத்தரோட பாயிண்ட் ஆஃப் வியூ ஒவ்வொரு மாதிரி இருக்கும். அந்த பர்டிகுலர் ப்ராப்ளத்துக்கு எது சொல்யூஷனோ அதை தான் நம்ம கொடுக்க முடியும். The advantages of prototyping is the reduced time and cost, and it will be improve the market and involved in this. When to use the prototype model? That is, prototype model is suitable only for the projects which is either the user requirement or underlying the technical aspects are not well understood. It is especially the popular for the development of the user. The interface, the part of the project. That is sketching down your ideas on a paper can set up the forward to convert them into that is a reality. There are maybe a jumble of ideas and concepts inside your brain, but putting them down on a paper helps you clearly define your product, its futures, and its the ultimate purpose. That is, what is the purpose of framing the product. Also, by the time you on board a designer, you already know exactly what you want, so you will be able to communicate it better. Creating a prototype will require a detailed work and prescribed descriptions. That is, we have to develop a rough visual prototype. That is, before entering into the final product, we have to develop a rough visual prototype. Once your ideas have been converted into a design, you can start developing a tangible prototype. This is where the design developers collaboration is a very crucial one. So if you have done a good job with convening your ideas, the designer has done a good job by translating these ideas into designs, then the developers will be able to code the product to your exact specifications. So whatever that is a physical prototype is a high fidelity model. ஒரு பிசிக்கலா நம்ம ஒரு ப்ரோட்டோடைப் பண்றோம்னா அது வந்து ரொம்ப வந்து இட்ஸ் ஹை fidelity which is of making it to the final product. This is similar to the first cut version, except there are many features and tweaks to optimize the user experience, such as high fidelity renditions carry at higher cost, as well as you are bootstrapping. You need to really think long and hard about whether your product is really a high fidelity market. That is, prototyping is a process quickly putting together a working model in order to test various aspects of a design, and we have to illustrate the ideas, and we have to feature, and we have to gather a early user feedback. That is, often one or more prototypes are made is a process of incremental development. We have not only a single prototype, we have to create more prototypes, which will be helpful to the development of the concern. In this way, the problems or deficiencies can be corrected. When the prototype is sufficiently refined and meets the functionality, the manufacturer or other design models is ready for the production. Before entering into the production, we have to create a prototype. It's nothing but it's a toy implementation. The next one is the when to use the prototype model. There will be a lot of things that are happening. This prototype model is suitable only for the projects for which either the user requirements or the understanding technical aspects are not well understood. ஒரு டெக்னிக்கல் ஆஸ்பெக்ட்ஸ் வந்து நம்ம ஒரு நல்ல ஒரு அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் பண்ண முடியாத பட்சத்தில் நம்ம என்ன பண்ணிக்கலாம்னா we can use that prototyping. That is especially popular for development of the user interface part of the projects. In the technologies jungles where the mobile app, for example, showing the websites, prototyping your product with or without a mobile app, design a company on board can be a challenging one. But a prototype is a incomplete or raw version that is being developed not only for the prototypes, that it should be helps to reduce the time and also the cost, but also helps you to identify the key issues that is in our user flow and design that to be able more expensive to fix later. The next one is, what is a prototype development? Students, whether you understand the concept, do you have any doubt in this? Shall we move on to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
The next one is the prototype development. That is, prototype development is like a copy of a part that will demonstrate the product features and explores the all possibilities before investing into the part complete development. Part develop under that is prototype can range from a detailed drawing with pen and paper to that is the full working version of the product. Therefore, prototype development is simply a series of process that the manufacturer uses to produce the prototype. Many also refer to prototype development as a prototype manufacturing. That is, next is the category of the prototyping development. We can classify prototypes into that is four categories based on the product design and how the manufacturer expect the final product to function. The first one is the working prototype. That working prototype, from its name itself, it implies that the product developer makes the working prototype exhibit as many of the final product features and functions as possible. So to make a product in a single way, that is, to be a working prototype, exhibit many of the final product feature into a function as much as possible. That is the working prototype. The second one is the functional prototype. That is the functional prototype is and working prototypes are both are similar in the development process, but slight difference only. That is, one is different scales and using different techniques. In working prototype, we will use the same technique, but in the functional prototype, we will use the different scalings and different techniques. The third one is the visual prototype. Visual prototype is nothing but the product developers design the visual prototype to project the shapes, measurements by using the 3Ds and outline the concept I have for the product. Since this process does not involve showing whether the product functioning or not, because earlier the working prototype and functional prototype, we can it's a tangible one. We can easily see whether it's functioning or not. But in the visual prototype, it is not easier because that it is just it will be the visual one. We can't able to know whether it's functioning or not. It is easier to make than other prototypes. So comparing to the working prototype and functional prototype, doing the visual prototype is very easier, but it is we can't able to know whether it is functioning or not. And then the fourth one is the user experience prototype. That is a user experience prototype. The developers make the user experience prototype showcase enough details that can help the future research the product manufacturer. Well, compared to the that is four prototypes, the visual prototype is very easier. We compare to the working prototype as well as the functional and the user experience prototype. These are some of the categories for developing the prototype. By using the ideas, we can frame the working prototype. With the help of various techniques, we can use the functional prototype. Visual prototype, which shows only the 3D effects, but we can't able to see whether it's functioning or not, but it is easier. The user experience prototype is with the help of the person who have an experience about the product or experience about the problems, we can create the user experience prototype. The next one, the importance of prototype development. Why the prototype development is very important for us? Because now the product are developing one by one. The prototype development stage is an invaluable process which is important to every part manufacturer. Here are some of the reasons why manufacturer cannot overlook the prototype development. Third, prototype, it is very difficult for the manufacturer to make the product to make the product to the final stage. The main importance is the pitching the product. That is, pitching is nothing but there is no point in making a part. It is a product which the clients or the stakeholders will not support. Without the support of the client and without the support of the stakeholders, we can all agree that selling a product, the prototype, we have to convince the client more than selling without one. That is, pitching the product is just we have to showcase the product to the seller and we have to show the demo. The pitching the document is because they can touch and feel the prototype and give the feedback. The feedback are also the important in making the considerable design changes to the final product. That will be called as the pitching the product. And second one, after the pitching, it is the main importance is putting the concept to the test. It is putting the concept test is the drawing of the design for the part does not guarantee that we fulfill its intended function in real life conditions. That is, we have to test the product. Because designing a prototype is a great way to evaluate how the part will perform when subject to a working environment. This test will help the manufacturer to determine the parts of the designs to revise or discard. In this, so the prototype development is a very essential for the manufacturer. Very important for the manufacturer. The third one is the minimizing the cost of production. That is, by prototyping, we can easily minimize the cost To some extent, this might seem wrong, since the prototype will also consume some of the capital meant for the production. Because without the capital, it is not possible for us to frame a product. But even though the prototyping cost is low while compared to the final production, however, the amount in the prototype production will be insignificant compared to the amount of the stakeholders. We have to base the trials and error method is used. This is because the prototype will help determine all the revisions of the manufacturer has to make with the product. Hence, a more accurate estimate for the production cost can be determined. This is the main importance of the prototype development. First, we have to pitch the product and we have to put in the concept to the test and we have to minimize the cost of production. These things will help the manufacturer for the prototype development. The next one, there are three different phases of the prototype development. Before entering into the phases, we have to know what is the difference between the prototype and the final product. Generally, the manufacturer and the product developer try as much as possible to minimize the difference between the prototype and final product. The actual might differ from the prototype in terms of its appearance, material used, or the machining process. The actual pipe may be differ from prototype. The final product will be the actual product will be differ from the prototype because the appearance, the material used, or the manufacturing process might differ from the prototype. For instance, the material used to make the final product are usually the expensive one. But in prototype, expensive. It is not an expensive. It is a low. It is very cheaper because while the prototype raw material is made from something cheap only. With the help of the cheap products only, we will make some prototype. But the original product will not be the cheap product. It will be almost expensive. However, its properties are usually identical. The properties which we use in the prototype as well as for the final product are will be the similar. But the thing is, the materials will be the cheaper while compared to the final product. The difference in raw material would be cause a chance in the appearance and then also for the finished product. Also, the quantity of the final product and prototypes made are always different because normally the manufacturer make the product prototypes in low volume as they only need them to production process. However, they make final products in large batches for several reasons. That is, the manufacturing process might be a complex one, but the prototyping is a similar. Cost price also low, and it also the small volumes we can take like the prototype. Producing the final product same time. Before entering into the final product, the manufacturer may concentrate in the prototype. With the help of the prototype, we can easily save time as well as the money. This is the main difference between the prototype and the final product. The prototype and the final product will not be the similar one. There will be some light changes. It depends upon the quality as well as the quantity. Next is the development phases. That is, the first phase is the alpha phase. This alpha phase is a phase of prototype management, develop the prototype. To answer the two questions. We are in this phase. We have the two main questions. That is one, how will part looks and feel. நீங்க ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் நீங்க ஒரு மேனுஃபேக்சர் பண்றீங்கன்னா அந்த ப்ராடக்ட் வந்து எப்படி இருக்கு or else will it work. With these two questions only we have to frame the prototype, whether the part looks and feel or whether it will work. In most phases, what I think is each could have separate prototype made for it. However, that is some manufacturer make one prototype for both. சில மேனுஃபேக்சர் என்ன பண்ணுவாங்கன்னா ரெண்டுமே வந்து ப்ரோட்டோடைப் கிரியேட் பண்ணுவாங்க. ஒன்று வந்து அந்த பார்ட் லுக் அதை ஃபீட் பண்ற மாதிரியும் தென் வந்து அது ஒர்க் பண்ற மாதிரியும். பட் சில மேனுஃபேக்சர்ஸ் என்ன பண்ணுவாங்கன்னா they will choose only the any one. It all depends upon the situation. It is the manufacturer call the prototypes made to answer for the both the questions appearance. It is a proof of concept prototypes are aspected. It is the proof of concept prototype is the prototype used to test the part will work. That is alpha in alpha phase. We have to see whether the parts which are categorized in the prototype are working condition. This prototype is not really concerned with the appearance, but its main goal is to test the preliminary functionality of the design. That is, this way will help the manufacturer to think whether the take the product into the market makes the use of very cheap and easily accessible materials such as carom boards, mortars, switches. With the help of these things, we can frame the product. That is the appearance prototype come next after the manufacturer deems the proof of the concept prototypes as success. This prototype is very useful. It also uses more expensive materials and machining methods for prototyping manufacturing. That is, 3D printing is a common machining process used at this stage. The alpha stage is nothing but the initial stage. The initial stage, with the help of 3D, we can frame a product. From the product, we will sell it to the stakeholder. The stakeholders will give some feedback about the product. And if there is any defective in the product, we can easily change the things which I will already include in the product. That is, the manufacturer also have to use this pitch to potential buyer and also the stakeholders. The client and the stakeholders can visualize the product and they will give them some proper feedback for the next phase. Alpha phase is the initial stage. The next stage is the beta stage. The manufacturer can get a proper feedbacks for the next phase. In this phase, it's deemed as success because in the alpha phase itself, the manufacturer will get a feedback whether the product is in a good condition or in a bad condition, whether it will be very useful or not. So from the next stage, that is a distinct success, the machines start developing a product. Then next we move on to the beta phase. Once the alpha phase is the initial stage, once we getting the feedback from the stakeholders and also the users, with the help of the feedback, we will move on to the beta space. Beta space is nothing but space built on a client's feedback and stakeholders in the alpha phase to make even more sophisticated prototypes. In this stage, the products are inching closer to the final product. In this stage, it reaches the final product. That is, undergo the extensive testing in this stage. There are two types of product may be produced in this stage. That is, one is the engineering prototype, and another one is the production prototype. The beta phase, the prototyping will be classified into two categories. One is the engineering prototypes, and another one is the production prototypes. That is, in some situations, some machinists what they could do is both engineering as well as a production prototype you will use. But is however that is largely depends on the risk assessment associated with the product because mainly the machinists, the production prototype are not only the final decision, the stages from aesthetics to final approval. Once the stakeholders approve this test, the production cast, the machines prepare for the mass production. That is the beta stage. Beta phase is the final stage. Alpha stage is the initial stage. Once the beta stage, we will make the product into the final product one. And later move on to the pilot space. It is the pilot space is a final product. That is final prototype. It is the first product. It's exactly how other parts until we look like, provided there are no further problems. பைலட் பேஸுக்கு வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஃபைனலா நம்ம ஒரு ஃபர்ஸ்டா ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் நம்ம மேனுஃபேக்சர் பண்றதா நம்ம பைலட் பேஸ்னு சொல்றோம். ஏன்னா பீட்டா பேஸ்லயே வந்து we will get everything will be getting the feedbacks and we will remodeling the product. Everything will be happening in the alpha and beta space. And pilot space, it is the first product which may be the final product. The only reason is that we have to consider the prototype because it still needs to get some certifications. Without certification, we can't be able to sell the product. We want to have some certification for the product. Then only we can able to sell the products. For example, if you want to make any product using the CNC machines or whatever the things, we have to get some certification. After getting the certification, only we can able to sell the products to the final customer. And after any final changes, they have to make the final prototype out to the independent review committees for certifications. Then after obtaining the certifications, the manufacturer can finally commence to the commercial phase. Commercial phase is nothing but selling the product into the market. It will be called as a commercial stage. These are the main important prototype development phases. The next one is the common prototype development mistakes. Many of them while developing a prototype, many of the manufacturer or many of the producer are doing the common mistakes. The main common mistake is not seeking the expert conditions. That is many new timers. For example, the many startups. There will be many startups are coming. The startups for startup is not involved in the product manufacturing because they want how to sell the product. They have to get many new timers in the industry tend to have some misconception because their prototype development stage it can cause many problems in the final product. The mistakes may be that they do not getting expert consideration how to progress through each phases. Uh, with proper expert consideration, we can avoid this prototype development mistakes and failing to make an accurate estimation of the cost because newcomers or the many startups can't know whether what cost to be kept for the product because they are not having any much knowledge because not they are not following any of the prototype rules because without following any prototype rules they are investing leads to the accurate estimation of the cost and not getting that enough user feedback because the user feedback is the very vital for success of the progress. Most of the not person, most of the manufacturer or producer not getting a feedback from the users because without getting a feedback, it is will be very difficult for framing product because trying to fit the prototype development process into the fixed time the length of this process depends on the sophistication of the part. So we have to fix the time where we have to make a product, whether it is very useful for us or not. So these things have to be considered while entering into the prototype development because the prototype development leads to money as well as the time. So taking into the consideration, we have to think whether these prototype development mistakes have to overcome. One very important part of making your prototype development success is you have to get advice from the pros. That is, you have to get advice from the experts. Without getting any advice from the experts, it is very difficult for us to get a success in the prototype because many users or many manufacturers or many consumers are not able to find out the solution for the particular problem, which leads to loss to the problem because the startups starting cannot be the thing that may be useful for the person. With the traffic direct, we have all the expertise. We have to get that expertise. We have to make a product a success. So by getting a product, a prototype in a success way, we have to get a feedback and we have to get an expertise. Without getting an expertise, it is very difficult for the manufacturer to frame the product. After making the prototype, we have to test the product. After testing only, we can able to know whether the product is very useful for the ultimate end user or not. There is any defects or any problems arise during the test, we have to again we have to reallocate the problems. We have to empathize. We have to define. We have to test. We have the prototype. We have everything. We have to will be the product life cycle. How the product life cycle will be the 5 stages. So likewise, the design thinking also they will be at the 5 stages. That is, we have to empathize. We have to define. We have to ideate. We have to prototype. We have to test. This is the cycle changes. Whenever things happening into the design thinking happen, we have to think of them, which will make the user get a proper information, or it will be very difficult. The prototype development of any part of production is the part of the process that requires a lot of planning, that is careful deliberation. While you are choosing a product, or while, as an entrepreneur, or you want to make a product, if you want to be an entrepreneur or you want to be a startup, first you have to know what is the need of the society. Then only you can able to produce a product which will make the will be the useful for the consumer, or it will be very difficult for the manufacturer or the startup to develop a product. So we have to get a proper expertise knowledge. Without the proper expertise knowledge, it is very difficult for framing a prototype models. And now many startups are getting it difficult with the help of this without following the prototype development. They get a proper expertise and if they get a proper feedback from the user, they can easily frame a prototype, and it will be very difficult for them to uh, success in the business. So prototype development of any part of production is the important one. You have to take careful. You have to have a lot of planning. While you can choose to yourself, that is, you have to get the expertise help, which makes the work easier and also saves time. Without getting the help from expertise, it will be very difficult for us to frame a product. So prototype is a very essential one. Today's scenario, the design thinking concept plays a vital role. So only the institution innovations council makes the colleges to give this kind of webinars, because many entrepreneurs or many startups are developing in our country, because they have the proper knowledge, the proper support, they can able to create a solution to the particular problem. These are the main things which we covered in the prototype development with the problem redesigning. If you have any doubts, you may ask. Yes, students, if you have any doubts, you may ask regarding the prototype development process. Do you understand the concept?
Yes, sir.
If you have any doubts, you may ask. Ma'am.
Sir,
Yeah,
so what are the main strategies to follow to get a successful startup?
I can't get it, ma'am.
So what are the main strategies one should follow to end up with a successful startup?
Want to be have to be a successful startups, we have to get expertise from the persons, and we have to get the feedback from the stakeholders. Because with the help of the feedback only, we can able to find out the solution for the particular problem. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to sell a product into the market, you have to analyze the what thing which we needed in the market, what are the problems in the market. By after analyzing the particular problem only, we can able to make a product, whether the particular product will reach the people or not. So we have to get a proper expertise uh, feedback from the user.
Thank you, sir.
Students, any queries? Thank you, sir, for briefing about prototypes, prototype model development, and different phases involved in a successful startup development. In the most interactive way you have done it. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Gratitude is the sign of noble soul. For giving thanks note, now I call upon Ms. Sipra Shivavaidishwaran, IIC student member, to go vote of thanks.
Gratitude leads to abundance, so I've heard. To express this kind of gratitude, I present myself. I extend a hand of sincere thanks to our chief guest, Dr. J. Udhyakumar, Associate Professor and Head of Department Commerce IT, SNS Rajalakshmi College of Arts and Science, and to our mentor, Dr. Roshan Matthews, for gracing this occasion with his presence. On behalf of the IIC, I express my hearty thanks towards the management and the secretaries. I also want to express my gratitude to our dear principal, Dr. Bojan Subramani, for his consistent support. And I also thank IIC convener, Mrs. Selvajayanti, Assistant Professor, Department of Microbiology. Thanking all the IIC staff members, and definitely not the least, the student members who ever so patiently cooperated with the workshop. And a special thank you to the students of Amity University attending the workshop. Thank you for your presence.